Today, I really wanted to talk about being a Filipina American and what that means to be a traveler as a woman, as a solo woman, and my identity as a Filipino American. And I first learned about solo traveling when I was 21 years old on my study abroad program. And one of my classmates, she was white, and she told me about it. And when she told me about the concept of solo traveling, I thought it was insane. Like, I thought it was crazy, but cool. Like, it was something that intrigued me, but I didn't do it right away. I loved to travel in groups, I loved to organize stuff, I loved being with my friends during study abroad. But eventually, it came to a point where I felt just like burnt out from constant traveling and socializing. Um, that I finally tried it for a day, and it unlocked and liberated so much in me. I was like, oh my gosh, like no expectations. I can actually hear my own thoughts. And I think that even if we come from collective cultures, like being a Filipino American, or if you're Latino, or any culture that just like loves to be around people all the time, I would say that some of us really do need that alone time. And it's liberating as a woman, right? Thinking about places that make you feel safe. And I have always had this intuition that I was safe whenever I was like outside of the US. For example, I've traveled all over, well, maybe 3 or 4 states in Mexico. And while others would say, like, that country's so dangerous, I felt fine and protected and taken care of. I think that when you're connected to a divine source and truly believe that you are divinely protected, there are angels who are always going to be around you to protect you. And that's always been my belief. And another part is my first solo travel was actually in Turkey. And the reason why I chose Turkey is because I was always curious about it. I had another friend from study abroad. This girl was first generation. I'm pretty sure her background, she was Mexican American. And she told me how she studied abroad in Turkey for a couple of semesters and she just like loved it. And ever since she told me that, I was really curious to go and see the place because I usually go to places when it's word of mouth. I trust the people telling me that they had a good time, so I'll go and check it out too. So there was a website, I'm pretty sure it's still running. It was called secretflying.com, and the flight that showed up was $440, and a spring break was coming up, and so I clicked it. I bought it. It was my senior year of undergrad, and I went. I was so fearful, not from me, but I think that, anti-Muslim propaganda just inundated so many of my loved ones' minds. They're like, why are you going there? Isn't it dangerous? Blah, blah, blah. It was like a whole list of stuff. And when I remember being on the flight and being so anxious, like my stomach was in knots. And I remember being on the train and I was just hearing all the noise that, people didn't send me off excitedly. People sent me off with like fear in their minds and like planting it on my own. But I remember within 30 minutes of being in Turkey and like being on the train on my way to the hotel in Istanbul, I felt so safe. I felt taken care of. I felt the energy shift. So it's really important, I think, if you're traveling Filipino American, like, be aware and recognize the fears that other people will project onto you and be able to compartmentalize that. Know that they're saying it out of love, but also that they're projecting it, and you don't have to accept those fears. You can choose to be brave. And another thing is, I strongly believe in the safety of being a solo female traveler. Another reason why I'm pretty fearless with this kind of stuff is when I was 4 or 5 years old, or 4 and 5 years old, and then again at 7 and 9 years old, and 10, I was, trigger warning, sexually abused by different family members. Okay, this happened in 2 different timelines of my life, but that happened when I was a kid. And now at 33, I feel like I've healed from it. But this was actually a cathartic way for me to like reclaim my body and reclaim just my sovereignty and choices of free will because of the horrendous thing that happened to me as a kid. And I've always been asking God and the universe, okay, the worst has happened to me already as a kid. And the places that adults told me were supposed to be safe by people that I knew, right? And that I was supposed to trust. And I was not protected by anybody. So now, like as an adult, I think that I've been able to reclaim that through traveling, through making my own choices, right? And finding my own safety within the world. It's truly, that is my question every time. It's like the worst has already happened. What else could happen? And I know that there's like true crime and all these stories, and I kind of pay attention to them. For example, there was a girl who celebrated her birthday in Costa Rica. God bless her. And she stayed in an Airbnb. And lo and behold, she went missing and she was found deceased. I don't know how long it take, but that story had such an impact on me. I was like, I'm never renting my own place, my own villa without other like tourists nearby. I will never rent in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I've had close calls before that story came up. So I'm always cautious, it's those safety things. Also, I lived in the city of Chicago for almost 10 years. You have to be like street smart when you're traveling, right? You're not just gonna let all your guards down. Yeah. And another thing is, actually, it makes me remember one of my most recent trips, which was last year, in El Salvador. So I've been solo traveling for a while, like in and out of the US, and usually my rule is once the sun sets, like don't even go out, right? Because there's some truth to when something happens to a girl, as much as I hate it, people will ask like, what was she out doing at night? What was she wearing? And people will like literally blame the victim. So my rule has always been to play it safe, like literally go outside only when the sun is out, when you're alone. Unless if I'm with my family, then I can go out. But the places I've felt safe to like go outside was, depending too, in El Salvador, there's a coastal town called El Sonte, and it's a very touristy spot. You can go outside. There's a lot of people at night like walking around in that town, or you could take an Uber. Yeah. And another place I've felt safe going out is in Siargao, Philippines, and like taking a tricycle. But I don't know if that's because I myself speak the native language. So to your own discretion. Yeah, so I think that even as women, also, you can also research like which countries do other women feel safe in. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there where women will talk about what countries they felt safe in. There's a creator called, her name is Glow Atanmo, or in like Hispanic, anyways, Glow Atanmo. She has videos saying like which countries she felt safe in as a black woman, because that's also important, right? To know how to navigate in a country, whether you're gonna feel racism or not. For me, to be honest, I did not, as a Filipino American, I did not vibe with Italy in Europe. I went to Greece 2 years ago, but it was with a diverse group of girls, and I loved that week that I was with them. But when I stayed after by myself, I just didn't feel the vibe. I don't know if I'd go back, but I definitely feel, a pull towards like Latin American countries or even in Southeast Asia. But it really depends on like your identity and where you would feel safe in, if that makes sense. But yeah. But I don't think any of those precautions should ever hold you back. It's just something that I automatically think of now. 8 years ago, I was volunteer teaching in Costa Rica, and I look back and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I stayed on the school grounds by myself for a couple of days. Like, there was only a dog with me. That didn't happen often, but there were days where I was literally alone. Like, it was a small town where the volcano's at, which is La Fortuna, which has boomed, I'm sure, since I left. But I look back and I'm like, I was really alone in that school building. I remember going to pee in the middle of the night. It was like 3 a.m. and I heard noises and I thought it was ghosts. Turns out it was monkeys, howler monkeys. But it's like just good stories to tell overall. I think that really when your intuition tells you that you are divinely protected, but with caution and being smart, like if you can survive the United States, the cities there, and like navigate that, I think you will be fine. You know what I mean? There's also a Facebook group called Girls Love Travel, where girls, hype each other up with traveling and ask for advice and whatnot. So there's just so many resources out there in 2026 in order for women to travel alone. And once you get the hang of it, I think that you can get the gist. You could see it if you like it. If you don't like it, don't do it. But it's something that I truly do cherish, and I recognize that I am the first in my family to be able to do it. Like, my grandma, she did it, but she had 2 kids when she was out there doing it. She was living in Spain. She lived in the US. And then my mom, she had kids in her 20s as well. So, yeah. That's my hype for solo traveling. Sorry, I just got sleepy all of a sudden. But let me know if you have any questions, whether you're a female or male, or you identify with neither of those. I would love to hear about what your thoughts are with solo traveling, what you think about it, or if you're curious. Thank you.